Hey, booze, hey. Do your blankets feel like super glue in the morning? Well, sis, it's time to shake them off. Welcome to Wake Up Happy Sis, the show that jumpstarts your day with a bang. We're strolling down these self-care streets as we navigate the maze of wellness and healing. We're helping you live happy, healed, and whole. And we do it all with a hearty dose of belly laughs for good measure. Stay tuned and get ready to wake up happy, sis. Hey, booze. Hey, it's your girl, Leanne Dose, your Chief Self-Love Officer over here at Wake Up Happy Sis. And I'm here with my amazing co-host, Arif Sealey, our resident comedian and all-around joy bringer. Okay. Welcome to the Wake Up Happy Sis show. We are all about changing the narrative for our Black and our brown people because we're telling our stories our way. We're broadcasting live. Well, this episode is a pre-record because we've got something special for you. But we're broadcasting on KCCR Cityscape Radio. And we just want to know, are you listening though? Okay. So we're celebrating the incredible fathers in our lives with an episode that's called Celebrating Fathers, Pillars of Strength and Wisdom. And I know you're like, why are you doing that when the show's called Wake Up Happy Sis?
Because we do what we want. That's why.
Look, already because we can. Yes. And today we're going to be joined by a special guest. Now, y'all know Sharonda has been married for a couple of, I was about to say centuries.
Hey, it works.
It works. You know, she's been married for quite a while. They've got a grown son. And so who better than to come and share some fatherly wisdom than her husband, Arif Sealey, successful entrepreneur, former military officer who credits his father and his resilience for his resilience and leadership skills. So see, father to son, that's what we're here for, right? Arif's he's gonna bring all that good fatherly love and knowledge, because unlike they try to put us in the media, there are wonderful Black fathers who are out there doing the damn thing and taking care and raising the next generation of wonderful Black fathers. So get ready for a heartwarming and inspiring conversation about the powerful impact of fatherhood. Now, what were you about to say?
Allow me to introduce to you Arif Sealey. This guy is the epitome.
Wait, I ain't even put him up yet.
I got something to say, ma'am.
But do you want me do you want me to put him up first, or you want to say it and then pop him up? You tell me.
Yes, and yes. I'm gonna do both, but I got something to say. Neither one of us had our fathers in our lives, but this guy crushed the game of fatherhood by being able to do for our son what his father was not there for him to do. He had other father figures, but Arif Sealey is one of my favorite men in my life that are the definition of what a father is. Introducing Arif Sealey.
She ain't even let me finish my little intro, but we're going to go with that now. Welcome, Arif.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. That was a great introduction. I appreciate it. I had to look around to see who they were talking about. Who y'all were talking about?
What's she talking about?
Who's that?
Well, I mean, you know, she has been known to brag about you on this show before.
Yeah, I know. I keep hearing that. But
and we don't brag lightly about people.
That's good to hear. It's one of those things where, you know, it's always great when, you know, someone is speaking about you when you're not there, right? Positively, of course, but yeah. But I will say that my wife makes it super easy to do what I do. Like, you talk about, oh, I'm doing all this stuff. Nothing happens without my wife there. Nothing.
I love that.
So
it's like a power couple.
I'm touching the babies right now.
It's like you're walking through this life, and then it's like, well, let's make it as fun as possible. Let's do things to where when we get to the end and we're 100 years old and we don't look like we're looking now. We look back and we smile on the journey that we've had, and so that just makes it a lot easier. We're, just having fun.
I was watching on TikTok it's an old white couple. Now they gotta be in their 90s. And the woman was like, and he still be after my body. Like that's, to me, that's the most beautiful thing, right?
You know why that is?
My whole boo. He said, I love her. He said, yes. Like,
you know why that is?
why?
Because Sharon and I, we've been married for 27 years. There's nobody else on this earth that I can look at their face and be like, that's 25 years of history right there. Like, she knows what we've been through. She knows the entire journey. And when you can just look at somebody like that, you like, yeah, you get it. You understand it and you get it. And so that's why, so it's just really about the journey. It's about the connection that we've had for 28 years and that you don't have with anybody else. It's 8 billion people on this earth and nobody has that connection. No one knows that story better than she does.
Yeah. So. And it's a beautiful thing.
I'm not crying.
No, she's not crying at all.
I'll be surprised if she doesn't cry by the end of this thing.
Me too. We were just talking about how her tears are the lubrication that our show that keeps our wheels moving on this show.
Absolutely.
And I told her in our family, I was like, she's the glue that keeps it all together.
That's it.
But see,
you are the father of the hour, though.
Absolutely. He talked about I make it easy. No, he makes it easy. He makes it worthwhile and worthy to follow him in whatever direction that we're going. He is that man after God's own heart. And he says, this is what we're doing, and that's what we're going to go do. And it's easy like Sunday morning.
Yeah, but what I will say about that is, yes, I'm the leader of the family, but it's also on me to also take in what everybody else wants as well, too. Right? Mm-hmm. What their goals are, what their desires are in life, and then incorporate that into the family plan to move forward. Because then you got buy-in. So it's not just about me. Oh, this is what I want to do. No, that doesn't work that way. It's more successful if you say, hey, what do you want to do? Okay, we'll incorporate that as well, too, in the plan. Then everybody's going to get something out of it.
Yeah. And I think at some point, the mark of a good leader is knowing when you have to be a follower, right? When to step aside and be like, okay, this ain't my thing. This is her area. I'm going to let her lead.
Yep.
Right.
And then she does. And then you sit back and you're like, my baby did that. And then so you're glad to step back. You're like, ooh, look at her shining. So right? She's an amazing writer, right? She's an amazing writer. I read her stuff and I'm like, I don't ever need to write nothing for this family again. Ever. Ever.
She rolls. Yeah. Everybody got a role to play.
That's
so
it.
You know your strengths and weaknesses, with finances, I love finances, so that's what I do, right? So you figure out your role, and then you put that person in a position to be successful. That's all it is.
Yes.
Let them shine.
I love that. So let's transition a little bit and start talking about fatherhood, right? Okay. Because I think for me, when I think about Black fathers, Black men in general have faced so many systemic obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Generations, discrimination, economic inequality, stereotypes, being moved out of the home. And we started at slavery, right? Being separated from that familial unit. But despite all these challenges, so many Black men just show so much resilience in providing for their families and for their communities. And like she said, especially with a lot of us not growing up with present fathers in the home, knowing how to not keep that cycle going, knowing how to break those generational curses and say, you know what, my family from here on out is not going to have that problem.
Yeah.
So talk to me about fatherhood to you, what fatherhood has meant to you.
You know, it's an interesting topic because fatherhood can mean anything to anybody. Like there's no stone that you can go read and say this is what fatherhood is. It's different for everybody, right? So yes, I didn't grow up with my father. I met him one time when I was 9, and that was it. But I had an amazing grandfather. And I'm 50 now, and I'm probably about the age that he was when he retired. So now I kind of reflect back on his life. He's no longer here. But I'm just like, that guy was so amazing in a sense. So here's an example, right? And this is going to remove the emotion. It's just a practical example. So when I was born, my father was in his early 20s, right? And I only met him one time. My grandfather stood in that gap and says, no, I'll teach you. Now, from the outside looking in, who would you want to learn from? Someone who's 20 years old or someone who's 50 years old?
Right. The 50-year-old, obviously.
Exactly. So take apart, oh, it's my dad, it's this or whatever. No, who do you want to learn from? Who do you think is going to show you what this world is about? And that's exactly what he did. So I quickly said, you know what? My grandfather, there's nothing I can ask him and he not provide guidance for. And he was a larger than life character. My biggest regret is more people didn't know him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he was such an amazing guy with great vision. Like we grew up in Panama. Like I'm not even from the US. And my grandfather had 6 kids, and he sent every last one of them to the United States for a better life.
Wow.
Every one of them in the 70s, because he had the vision of, regardless of what we complain about the US now, he looked at the US as that's an opportunity for my kids. Now, the amazing part is, as I'm close to his age, I look at my wife, I'm like, man, if he doesn't make that decision, Sharon and I never meet.
Right.
I'm still in Panama. Like that's huge. That's a huge difference, you know? And so he was always my example of the right way to do it, you know? But yeah, just an amazing guy. So when I look back on life, I'm like, I would choose that scenario 100 times out of 100.
Because the alternative is unacceptable because we know what the standard is.
Yeah. And so, you know, and so fatherhood, again, it's not something that's written in stone. You have to kind of figure it out for yourself. But you have to be conscious about it. You have to say, just like you were mentioning, what I've experienced in my life growing up, there's certain things that I want to emulate and certain things I don't want to emulate. And so, but being conscious of that, to saying, no, I will be the last generation to experience X, right? I will be the last generation, as far as I'm concerned, for a child to grow up without a dad in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what we're doing. I don't care what Sharon and I have going on. I'm not going anywhere. Why? Because it's so important to show that to my son.
That's right.
Right? It's so important because, again, just like me, it was so important not knowing for my grandfather to step in. He could have just been like, oh, you're my grandson, but I'm doing all this other stuff and da-da-da-da. But he took 100% responsibility for that, you know, and didn't have to. And my life has been littered with people like that. Some not even family. Mm-hmm. Some, you know, I've got my father figure that I worked for when I was a kid. I was 13 years old painting houses. And before that, he came up to me. He's like, hey, you know, you're washing cars. You want to come work with me for the summer? And I was at his house every single day showing up. And he provided that consistency of being responsible, showing up on time and working hard and doing all those things. And I'm just thinking about the money, quite frankly, as a kid.
Yeah.
But now looking back, I'm like, he could have been like, you know what? You're around, go home, right? Every time I see you, you're at my house. So you start to look back. To me, that's even more amazing in the sense that he's not even related to me and has a bigger impact than my father. And that's just the way life is. So we can say, oh, my dad never did this, my dad never did this. But I guarantee you, God never leaves us alone. If we just stop and look around, it's like, okay, well, who's filling that gap? Somebody is. Somebody is. And you realize those amazing people in your life,
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think back, like you, even though I didn't have a present father, I met my father I met the man who I thought was my father when I was 15. Right. But I still had father figures in my life. So my aunt's father, now he wasn't my grandfather because he wasn't my mother's father, but my aunt's father, he was around, and I used to remember him taking us, like my aunts, my uncles, the younger ones, and my sister and I are very close in age. It's like a 4-year difference. 4 or 5 year difference in ages between me and my uncle. Okay. But I remember their dad taking us with him. He used to paint houses and do construction, do all those things, right? And so I remember him taking him with us. And my mother had a boyfriend that honestly, he was in prison when I was younger, but he would have stuff made and send to us. He would write us letters. He would send us cards. He was very present. When he got out, he treated us like we were his children. Wow. And he didn't have to. By this point, my mom was deceased. My mom died when I was 4. By the time he got out of prison, he didn't have to do anything with us.
Wow.
Right. He was up in our lives until I was in high school. Right. So I agree that God doesn't leave you with nothing. But to me, there's still that connection to that biological father that it's a different hole that we have to learn how to fill. And I think sometimes it's not as visible, like you said, of, oh, my grandfather's here, or this person's here, or this person's here. And some people aren't lucky enough to have that. So my thing is, if you have that in your life, you should cherish that while you have it.
Yeah. And also be conscious of not replicating what you don't want. Like that's the important part, right? Irregardless of how I grew up, has nothing to do with Max as my son. Absolutely nothing. He was just born here. So why would I take that trauma, whatever you want to call it these days, or whatever, life? Back in the day, we just called it life, right? It wasn't the trauma. It was just the way life was.
Yeah, we didn't know trauma.
No, like trauma, like what, like in the ER? That was the only trauma I knew back then, right? So for him as my child, why would I want to take the worst parts of my childhood, whatever that is, and then put it on him? Like, is that the legacy? Is that we always talk about inheritance, right? Wealth, inheritance. We're talking about money. But there's also a spiritual inheritance as well, too. Why would you consciously want to say, well, that's what I got, so that's what I'm going to give my kids? It's like, no, you need to be the filter for life and say, you know what? I took the arrows in my back, so you won't get it, son. So now you go to the next level when you're an adult and you have no idea what that's like. That's my goal, for you to have no idea what it's like to not have your dad there. Like, that's the goal.
Yes.
Now, and here's the thing. He's going to have other issues. No one goes through this life unscathed. But what won't happen is me giving him those traumas or whatever it is. He won't have to deal with that. He'll have to deal with other things because that's just life. But the things that I went through, no, not consciously.
Yeah, not unless it's a choice he makes.
But that's different, right?
Right.
It's like, because of the wisdom of being a father, you're like, hey, if you go down this path, this is what happens. If you go down that path, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
My job as a father is to show you what the future looks like. If you open this door, that's what happens. If you stay in school and you get good grades, people will look at you and give you opportunities that other people don't have because of your reputation, because of the things that you've done in the past. I give you a quick example. So when our son was in 11th grade and COVID hit and everybody was at home, his counselor looked at his classes and realized, oh, you only need one more class. You need an English class to graduate early. You don't even have to do your senior year. And I told him, I said, the only reason why that's an option is because all of the hard work that you've done before then.
That's right.
And the principal looked at your grades and looked at all the stuff you're doing and said, yeah, go ahead, give him that class and he can graduate early.
A whole year early from high school.
Yeah. So those are the things that, as a father, you provide the wisdom, for your kids.
Okay. Yes. Can I just say that my father wasn't there for me either, but being able to be front row seats of my son experiencing something that me and his dad never experienced is one of my greatest joys. To hear them two working on a doggone science project or laughing and horse playing or telling jokes or watching their favorite Star Wars cartoon or just watching them spend time together. Parenting is not for the faint of heart. I've been saying it the whole 27 years, but one of my greatest pleasures, one of my favorite things in the whole wide world is watching the two most important men in my life interact and be in each other's life and bond and just be together. I don't have to even be a part of the conversation. I just love to hear their voices and the laughter and seeing them love on each other. And it's the best thing ever. And I love that he has that. I love that for him. I'm a little bit hating.
Just hating a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
A lot.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Right. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of hate.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing. So let's ask this, Arif.
Yeah.
Let's talk about being emotionally present, especially as a father, because to me, as that father, you are the head of the family. You are the provider, the protector. How do you kind of balance that with being able to be emotionally present for your son, for your wife, for your family?
It all starts with God. Like, if you want to know the cheat code in life, it all starts with God. There's been several times where I'm like, Lord, I don't even know what to do. Just show me something. Give me a sign. And he'd be like, do this, do that. And if you're obedient enough and just listen, like I said, if you don't have the answer, then be open to an answer from God, right? For me, it's centered around love. It's just like God. God opens all these doors and he does all these things for us. Why? Because of love. That's it. Like, if you love someone so much, you'd be like, it would be really cool if I could do this for that person. Because I know the reaction that they would have. And the same thing with my son. When he got to high school and said he wanted to be an artist, right? I'm like, okay, well, I used to draw when I was a kid, but I have no idea what a professional artist does. I do know there's something called starving artist. And I do know that that's not what you want to do.
Right.
So I give an example. He told me that. So it was a summertime. And I said, well, let's look at the best art schools in the country, right? And we looked at all that. Then we did a search on YouTube. And we started looking at, there were kids out there that was posting their portfolio, their art portfolio, that they used to apply for all these colleges. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So we sat down the whole summer. We would just look at all these different students that both got in and didn't get into those colleges. And you start to notice a trend, right? Of, oh, this person was really had their game plan and they knew exactly what the school wanted, and they gave it to them in the sense that, oh, they want to see these type of pieces, these art pieces. They want to see this growth. They want to see where you started at and where you're at now. All of that is about love. I love my son so much that I want to see him succeed in whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
And if I could just bring 2 cents, I may not know anything about that industry. But if I can use 2 cents to add to help him, that's where it all starts from. So it's not even about you as a father having the money, having the time sometimes, having anything. It's just loving your kid enough to say, I don't know, but I'll figure it out.
But to me, those are the qualities of leaders, right? Is I don't know. I may not have all the answers, but I know how to figure it out and teach you how or demonstrate this for you. Because yes. I think when you have a father who kind of can model these strong leadership skills, and that's through your actions, through your words, and that's like having integrity, right? Yes. Being responsible, having a strong work ethic, that leaves such a lasting impression on your kids, because we don't realize they are always watching from when they're small and they see you trying to shave. And so they got something in their hand, they got a little toy in their hand, and they're trying to shave too, right? Yeah. Because they what you're modeling for them.
Yeah, exactly. And what I will say is this, especially fatherhood. Fatherhood is like planting a seed, right? As a child, and you're pouring and you're watering the seed, and you don't know when it's going to bloom. It may bloom at 18, it may bloom at 25, but you still got to keep fertilizing and doing what you can. Eventually, that seed turns into an oak tree, and now you've got shade and all those things. But it didn't start when the shade was provided. It started when that little seed, and you're watering it and you're doing all those things and not seeing anything, no return back. That's love. That's love, because you're like, one of these days, because I remember my son and I, we were having this conversation. We were doing something, and I wish I could remember exactly what we were doing, but I was doing it not because we needed to do it at the time, but that he would remember it later on. Yeah. Like, that how we can look back on our life and like, man, I remember when this happened, right? Those are the moments, the memories that I was trying to create with him.
I love that. Consciously,
of saying, hey, we're going to do this, not because, it's cool to do, but you're going to remember this when you're my age.
Right? Yeah, those little moments are the things that mean the most. I used to have seizures, so unless it was something very remarkable, I don't have a lot of gray space in memories, right? But when it's something, and people think it has to be this grand thing, but in a child's mind, sometimes the simplest things are grand in nature and scale to them. And it's so important that we're giving them those experiences, because they're learning from everything that they see you do, good or bad. Now, our family, they've all learned how to cuss really well. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, right? But that's a thing in our family. Everybody cusses. Everybody cusses. That's our thing, right? But we also learned the value of hard work. Yeah. We learned how to love unconditionally, right? We learn all these things. So either you're going to be that father who teaches your son to be respectful, to be responsible, to be accountable, or you're going to teach him it's okay to hit on this person. It's okay to do this and do that. We have to make those a conscious choice of the children we want to raise. Now, eventually they're going to make their own decisions.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like all you can do is what you can do, right? You're broadcasting to your child, but it's up to them to tune in.
That's
and
right.
sometimes they tune in, but they don't rebroadcast that for another 10 years. Like, that's something you have to be aware of as a father, as any parent, right?
Yeah.
It's like, man, I told this kid, it's like, here's the easy way to do it, but you're doing it the hard way. It's like, that don't make any sense. You know, that's part of it too. It's like, okay, well, this is the lesson that you want to learn. Okay, we're going to go down that road.
Right.
And
I'm gonna let you learn it.
Yeah, eventually, though, again, those are those reminders, though, of evidence when the kid looks back and they're like, dang, every time my dad or my mom told me to do this, I would have been better off listening to them. Right. And we have to look at our lives when we're parents and say, what are the things that I loved about my childhood? What did someone tell me that just totally changed my life? For me, it was my mom when I was a kid. And she would be cooking and I would be doing whatever. And she's like, oh, and again, we're from Panama, so she used to call me Mijo. She said, Mijo, you can do anything that you want. You can do whatever. I'm like, oh, I think I want to do this. I want to, work at NASA. It's like, you do. So I always tell my mom now, I said, if you never gave me anything else, like, you don't even imagine how powerful those words are.
Yeah.
Right? That you can do anything. So again, when there was time when my son was born, that's what I told him all the time. Not only you can do anything you want, I will help you do anything that you want to go do.
Yes.
When my son, again, he was in high school and he was in band, but it wasn't working out, or he didn't feel that he was, where he should be with it. And I said, well, I know you love art. Let me go look online. And so I found him an after-school program at a local college here. And so I would pick him up from school, take him to that. I'd be at the library till he got done. And he was in that program. He made this art piece that ended up winning a contest that the art piece was at the airport for a whole year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Which then we were able to leverage into his college application.
That's right.
So to me, that is what a dad does, to be able to say, hey, if you do this, then we can figure it out on the back end. We'll look for opportunities. That wisdom of being a father is really what's important. And that's how you show, to me, that's how you show love. It's to say, let me help you get what you want, because then there's no kickback. There's no fighting. It's like, you want this. I don't want it. You want to be an artist. Okay, well, let me help you be an artist. And sure enough, midnight, still doing artwork, doing all this stuff. It was time he went to bed. I'm like, he stayed up. I'm like, I'm going to bed. I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about him because he was doing his passion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so for us as fathers, we have to be able to notice what our kids are really super good at, and then somehow provide the resources. And it doesn't always have to be money. The after-school program was free, actually. All it took was gas to get over there. So it doesn't always cost money. We just have to be open to, man, what are the resources? What are the things that I can do? But it all starts with love. I love my son so much that I want him to live out every possible dream that he's ever had. That's it. I don't want nothing for it. There's nothing that, just like God for us, like, there's nothing that we could do to help God, right? God's got everything. Right. So it's the same thing. Like, my son is like, I don't even want anything. Any present that you want to give me, I can go buy it myself. So it's not for that, right? It's, no, I want you to win. I want you to have a life that you design that's just for you.
That's right.
And so but it all starts in love. It's maybe guys don't really talk about love as much, but I read a quote a couple days ago, or it was a sign, and it says, I love you. Right. And it was just random. And the bottom of it says, if people can hate for no reason, then I can love for no reason.
Excuse me.
Look, that's because I saw that one too. I saw that just this morning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so love is very powerful. We think it's weak, right? Because people take advantage, but it's not. It's really what makes God God. Because he loves us even when we don't do what we're supposed to do.
Look,
right?
Even when we fucking all the way up.
Yeah.
All the way.
Hey, all the way. He looking like, I didn't create you for that. Like when I mixed you together, that it wasn't for that.
It was not for that. But if that's what you want to do, I'm gonna let you do it.
Yeah, but I still love you. Here's the part.
You can always come back home.
It's not conditional. And here's the crazy part about it. The love that we have, even for each other here on this earth, is nothing like the love God has for us. That's why we always get it twisted, because we're expecting this world's love from God. And he's like, no, this love here is conditional on this. If you do this for me, I love you. If you stay here and do that, I love. God is like, I love you because I made you. So he's actually the ultimate example of what a father is.
Yes. I would
agree. Like, I'll see you, and to me, that's the goal. Do I always hit that goal? Nope. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what, Lord, you need to come get your son.
Come get him before I send him to you.
Yes.
Come get him before I send him to you.
Return to sender.
Child.
It's not all roses and prettiness. It's sometimes it's just like, I've had to send my son back to God several times. But guess what? You know what? When you do that, God polishes them up and sends them back to you.
Look, them wasn't even my kids, and I wanted to send them back to God. they were my cousins, but
you want to send other people's kids.
They were my babies. Their mother was addicted to drugs at that point in her life, and so they lived with me, right? Yeah. And I definitely had times when I wanted to send their little butts back to God, but I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got to take a break. Okay. Pause for the cause. But when Sharonda told me that, oh no, he's from Panama, and I said, let's be clear to the audience, not Panama in the United States, not
Panama City, Florida. No.
Right. No. So I said, as I am on Duolingo learning my Espanol, so let me see if I can say a little something.
Okay.
So we're gonna see if you understand what I say. Don't judge me, Arif.
Okay. Well, disclaimer and full disclosure. I left when I was 5.
So you may not know.
But I'll try. I left when that's just the disclaimer.
Okay, so I'm gonna not give you the whole. Okay, I'm gonna give you.
Go ahead. I got you.
Okay, we go see. I feel like the last part you should be able to get. That part's the easy one. Okay. Queremos aprovechar este momento para desear un feliz Día del Padre a ti, Arif, y a todos los padres que nos están escuchando. Gracias por su amor y dedicación.
I know.
You see how they roll up? Let me practice in my Spanish. Let me clap for me. Let me clap.
Oh, man. Yeah, I need one of those. There you go. You get 2 of them from me.
There you go, baby. I got you.
So what that means is we want to take this moment to wish a happy Father's Day to you, Arif, and to all the fathers who are listening to us. Thank you for your love and dedication.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to all the men out there doing the hard work, and we're all doing hard work, but it's, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. It's like no other job that you'll ever have. So
yeah, and it's worth the hassle. Now,
it is.
Let me take this brief break, and then we're going to come back. And what we're going to do is we're going to give some of these new fathers or some of these fathers who need a little help with their fathering skills, we're going to give them some Arif tips.
Okay.
On how to level up their dad game. So awesome. You are tuned into the Wake Up Happy Sis show on KCCR Cityscape Radio, where we're changing the narrative for our people because we're always telling our stories our way. But are you listening? We'll be right back. Hey sis, ever feel like you're on the verge of a meltdown? Are you overwhelmed from juggling your job, your family, and trying to fit in me time, but seriously dropping the ball on that last one? Guess what? You're not alone. Introducing the Burnout Recovery Kit. It's your 14-day lifeline to go from burnt out to lit up. Get ready to reclaim your joy, energy, and that I got this attitude. Grab your free ebook, a purpose-driven workbook, daily email prompts, as well as SMS boosters and Q&A sessions. It's like a spa day for your soul, and guess what? It's totally free. Don't waste another minute feeling drained. Go to officialburnoutrecoverykit.com right now and kickstart your transformation. The Burnout Recovery Kit, because you deserve to be at the top of your own to-do list. Don't just cope. Thrive, sis. And we are back.
Awesome.
So, as I promised, we want some tips. We want some tips for some of these men who may be like, I can't do it. I've never had a strong father figure in my life, but I want to be present for my children. Do you have some tips for them?
Probably the first thing that comes to mind, and is kind of more like a guiding principle, right, is irregardless of how I grew up and how my background is, what do I want this relationship with my child to be like? That can mean different things to different people. And so it's not like a really lockstep, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's, what do I want my relationship with my child to be? Just being conscious of that opens up the whole entire world, right? People laugh when I mention this, but one of the guiding principles that I've used is Jay-Z, right? There's a song with him, I think Watch the Throne, and it's a song called New Day. And he basically says that it took me 26 years to find my path. My only job is to cut the time in half. And it still kind of chokes me up because that really resonated with me. It's like, I want to, all this stuff that we've experienced as adults, I want to share that with my son. And I'm like, so I was teaching him, about investing, about marriage, about all these things as a child, right? And kids don't know whether they're supposed to be learning stuff or not. Just like how kids experience stuff that they have no business experiencing, well, they can also experience the good stuff that may be beyond their years, and they'll grow into it, right? It's like some long pants, and your mama hem them up and be like, yeah, we'll pop that hem when you grow into them, right? So to me, that's the way I've always looked at it. It's like, man, what would I have wanted to know when I was a kid? Like, what would have really helped me? Like the stuff that I'm learning at 30 years old, let me teach it to my son at 15, right? So he has a whole different view. And again, whatever that is, everybody's experience is different. Everybody's priorities are different. But when you're conscious of raising your child, that's 90% of it. Because a lot of it is just like, we have no plan. We're just kind of living day to day and we're just doing our thing. But when you're conscious of it and saying, you know what? When my son is 18, I want him to know what a 40-year-old knows.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? Right. And so all the things that, and it's like, as a parent, as a dad, you can literally pick and choose those experiences that you've had in your life and say, you know what? I loved it when this happened. Let me show my son that. Whatever it is, we all have different lives. We all have different backgrounds. So whatever that looks like, those are things you cherry pick. And so then you start to focus on creating those type of memories. So rather than, oh, I didn't have this as a kid, I didn't have that as a kid. Don't lean on what you didn't have, right? Lean on what you had or what you want to create from your child. And just because it wasn't presented to you doesn't mean you can't project it to your child. Like, it's within you. Just because you didn't experience, what it's like to have a dad in the house, doesn't mean that cannot be the priority in what you share with your child. So therefore, he never experiences that. He don't even know what that is. It's a foreign thing to him. It's a foreign thing to, maybe he takes it for granted, to something that was so pivotal for me to make sure that he experienced. Now it's something trivial. He's like, yeah, my dad was always there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the norm. So now when he becomes a dad, it's a norm.
Exactly.
Right? And to me, when you're consciously doing that, that's the big piece. And sometimes you have to stop and be like, it's like anything else when you're practicing something. The only way you get better at it is to keep doing it. So the first time you do it, you might be leaning on that trauma a little bit and being like, but eventually you catch yourself and you're like, you know what, that's not what I want to pass on to my child. And you hold that back and you say, no, I'm going to replace it with this, with love.
Right.
And to be conscious of that conversion.
Okay,
right.
I might cry a little bit, but I want to highlight the action of breaking generational curses on both sides of our family.
It's all right.
See, this is why he is my favorite person in the whole wide world, because it doesn't matter what you didn't have. It matters what you have to pour into your kids. And he chose positivity and love and staying there and being there no matter how hard, because it got really, really hard, but he didn't run. And I'm so happy and proud, and we just kept on moving through the hard parts and stuff. And I thank God that it wasn't a lot of hard parts, but we came to work every day to give him all of us. And
and that's the thing too. It's not all sunshines and rainbows. It's just not.
Never.
It's some hard stuff. And we didn't always get it right. I'll be the first one to admit, like, we didn't always get it right. But here's the thing: I don't play baseball, but I do know this: if you're a 500 hitter, you're one of the best to ever do it, and that's 50%. That means half the time you struck out, half the time you hit. You're in the Hall of Fame for 50%. So we think life has to be, I got to get this right 99% of the time. Don't put that pressure on you. Get better every day. Keep going. Today you fell short. Okay, and tomorrow is going to be a better day. I'm going to be conscious, because why? I'm going to be better because I have more experience now. I have one more day of experience now. And that one day, just like our kids, what do we always say about kids when a baby's born? They grow up fast. From 0 to 18, it goes like this. So here's the thing. If it goes that fast and you're learning every day and you're trying to get better, you're consciously trying to get better, it's like, man, I really screwed up yesterday. I really lost my temper yesterday. And I lost my temper and I can't do it because all the other stuff that I've done, he might forget about that, but he'll remember that one time I didn't bat 1,000, right? So you have to be conscious of those things as well too, and give yourself grace. That's the other part. You know, there's enough people around us telling us that we aren't who we are, that we can't do what we need to do. Don't jump on that bandwagon. If you got to be the last Mohican on the ship that says, hey, we're going to get it done, then that's just it, you know? And so you just have to say, today wasn't perfect. Tomorrow's a new day. Let's try it again. That's it. You know?
Yeah. And I want to go back to one thing that you said before about when we're talking through breaking those generational curses. And I think what it also allows you to do, it allows you to start new traditions. Sometimes we get caught in the traditions we were left with that are not always good for our soul. But it's what they knew. It's what they had to work with and what they knew. But the great thing about starting your own family is when you're breaking those curses, that can look like new traditions. And it might be something that your father or a father figure in your life did with you. And you know what? That left such a lasting impression that I am going to share this with my son, like you said, so that we're creating these. Because what you're not only doing is creating those core memories for them, you're teaching them independence and decision making. You're teaching them how to communicate effectively and how to prioritize that communication between the two of you. You're teaching them accountability and responsibility. You're showing them what it's like to be emotionally intelligent and present, that even though I didn't get it right all the time, I'm still here and I'm still trying. And you know what I mean? And you're even showing them that even in failure, there's growth, there's opportunity, and there's value in that lesson. Right?
It really is. And there's something that we hadn't touched on, but I wanted to mention. So I had a stepdad when I was growing up. And I don't know where I get it from, but I don't do a whole lot of speaking. I prefer to observe and see what's going on. And one of the things that I learned as a child is that some people will say something and do something totally different. And they don't always go together. And so what I quickly learned around my stepdad was that literally, if I just did the opposite of what he did, I'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And so what it taught me was that even if you have a bad example growing up, you can still take that bad example and say, if I just did the opposite, I would be so far ahead.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I learned is, and again, a lot of things that we do now come from our childhood. And one thing that I learned from that was, I don't care what people say. Like, people say things to me and I just discount it. Because to me, action means way more than anything that anybody could say.
Yes.
Right. You know, and so almost I probably go overboard in the sense that, yeah, you're right. I may not tell her I love her as much as most people would say is adequate for a relationship. But what I guarantee you is I show you way more than I say it, because I don't value people saying things with no actions attached to it. So again, I flip that to say, you know what? No, I'm going to do so much action that you don't even have to ask me. You just look at my resume on what I've done. Right. And so that's how we can take those things that we experience as children, those negative things, and flip them for something good. So just because you never experienced a positive male role model doesn't mean that you can't just say, hey, you know what? I never experienced a positive one. So what I did experience, I'm just going to flip it. I'm going to do the opposite of what that person did. If this person was always out in the street doing stuff that they had no business doing, then you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something else. Right? I'm going to be here all the time. Just like Sharon was saying, when it got hard, I was always there. Why? Because I've seen when it got hard, some people didn't stay.
Yeah.
So if I just do the opposite of that, so again, that's how wonderfully made we are, in a sense that we can experience something and turn it into sunshine, turn it into something beautiful, irregardless of what was like. That's how powerful we are. It's like, oh, you grew up and you didn't have this, you didn't have that, you didn't have... Okay. And so now when you're an adult, you can take that and say, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's what I did with my son. It's like, you know, what do you want to do? Okay, let's go find out. Okay, this is school. Oh, they're coming, you know, to San Antonio. Okay, we're going to go to that. Be exposed to those people. All those things. And then just sit back and just watch him do his thing. There are times where we would go to different art things and he's like, Dad, I got this. Go ahead and sit down. Okay, no problem. Go ahead, do your thing. And he'd be sitting there talking to adults, showing them his work and them giving, and the only thing that I would tell him is like, you really want someone, when you connect with them at this event, to say what's wrong with your art, because that's the only way you get better. 9 out of 10 people are going to say, oh, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But that doesn't allow you to get better in your craft. What gets you better is, one of the guys came to him and said, hey, you need to work on your shading more, and to make the shading all on one side where the sun, like the sun, when the sun hits it, there's not shade everywhere. It only comes from one side. And so shade, so those type of things. So what I'm saying is, like, you just have to figure out what you want your relationship with your child to be. It can be anything you want. It's not predicated on how you grew up. It's not predicated on anything other than what you decide to do.
Yeah.
And anyone that gives me pushback, I always give this example. My name is Arif. It's A-R-I-F. When I was a kid, of course, you know, kids, they'd be like, a who, a what? And I got tired of it, to where I just told my friends, my name is Mark. Until one day, one of my friends knocked on the door, and my mom answered the door, and the kid is like, is Mark there? And my mom is like, there's no Mark here. And I'm like, oh, that's me. Right? So if I can change my name with kids and no one knows it other than my mom, then we can also create whatever we want, any type of relationship that with our kids that we want. No one can tell you other than that. So that's what I would challenge men to be, and just experiment with it. If you just try it and practice, you're like, you know what? I would really want to have this type of relationship with my child. And then you just build on that every single day. You're with them every day. And you're just like, I don't know how to do it, but I'm just going to start. Like, we have so many more resources now than even when my son was little. You know, I look now, sure, I'm talking about being jealous. I look now at some of my friends that have small kids, and they got these big old contraptions that they're, you know, dressing up for Halloween as a Star Wars character. And I'm like, man, I wish I could have did that when Max was a little kid, right? But you can do anything you want. And I think just that observation frees you up. Like those chains, you don't have to drag into this relationship. You're free. You're free to create whatever you want, you know, and just to be conscious of it.
And I think that's such a powerful knowledge point in your life, is that you are free to create the reality that you want for your family, right? That you get to raise your child the way that you see fit, you and your wife, you and your baby mama, whoever, right? See fit. We get to change the narrative. Every day is a chance for us to change our narrative. If you don't like it, you still change it, because you know what it felt like. Like, yeah, I didn't have a father, but I know what it felt like to not have an active parent in my life. So what was I going to be? An active parent in my child's life. I think that's because, again, we're also teaching our kids how to be present.
Yes.
How to be accountable to somebody, how to stick with something even though it's hard. Because, you know, kids some get too hard, they want to quit. Oh, I don't want to learn how to do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And here's something as well too, right? We as parents need to start looking at other examples, right, of parents that may be a little bit older than us.
Yeah.
Right. To say, well, how did you navigate this? Like, I have my best friend from middle school has 4 kids. So when we were going through stuff, I would call him up. I was like, bro, you done did it 4 times. How?
You're a pro at it now.
Yeah. What are you doing? Like, how does this work? You have to love your child so much that you don't care. I'm looking for answers anywhere that I can find it. And so here's the beautiful part about that. You can talk to people who are ahead of you. If you got a 10-year-old, talk to people that have 18-year-olds and be like, hey, what's the next 8 years going to look like? Right? And then you can be prepared for it. You can be like, okay, well, at 17, he jumped out the bag and this is what he did.
Right. I don't want to scare you.
Yeah, but you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
No, okay, here's the thing. You'll be scared the first time, but it's just like a scary movie. You watch it and you keep watching, and at some point you're just like, it's not scary anymore because you kind of know what's coming up. That familiarity reduces all of that, right? And so that's what those experiences are like. You can be like, oh, I remember when my buddy Shannon told me his kid did this or his kid did that. Okay, how did you? Yeah, I was upset. Okay, yeah, I'd be upset too. And then this is what happened now. And so you start to have those conversations. I think for men, one, we don't really have a lot of friends. Like that's just in general for men, not like women do, not at the rate that women do. And so sometimes there's a lot of isolation there. But again, it goes back to love. If you love your child enough, you don't care about that. You're like, it's like you're in the desert and a stranger walks up to you with water. You don't care what his name is. You don't care nothing. You want that water, right? Same thing with your child.
And I think that loneliness or that feeling that men tend to have is also because our community, and I'm not just talking about Black community, I'm talking about masculine
society,
are taught that you're supposed to be this strong, stoic kind of figure, and that you're supposed to have all the answers because you're the da-da-da, and it doesn't leave men spaces to feel like they can be vulnerable and not be called a simp, a wimp, a sucker, whatever, right? So that doesn't give them the opportunity, especially when we were growing up, you didn't see a lot of men and having men's groups, discussion forums, places where men could learn and speak openly about the challenges they're having as a man, as a father. And I think now we have so many more opportunities where men can gather and have those spaces and have a space to be vulnerable, and somebody is not judging you for not knowing or for being weak, quote unquote weak. Right? I think that is so important.
From a Nick called the council culture. And it's a forum where men can do just exactly what you said, Leanne, and be in a safe space, and each one reach one, teach one. And you got this council of men, not to cancel you, but to counsel you, and to the old heads reach back and teach the new dads and stuff like that.
And here's the thing that we know: communication is a two-way street. When you're in that environment, you have to be able to receive things that might not be comfortable for you. That's because it's causing you to change. If you had the answers, you wouldn't need a counselor. But clearly, you don't have the answer. So be open to what you receive, right? And then take what you need from it, right? So even with me, I'm very conscious of surrounding myself with people who know more than I do, as much as I can. Whether it's about raising kids, whether it's about being married, whether it's about being in business, all those things, I want to find, well, who's doing it an amazing way? Like I've got a buddy of mine, he's got 4 kids, another friend of mine. I don't know why I got all these friends with all these kids, but he's a young guy. I think his oldest might be 12 or 13. And I just look at him and I'm like, please have one more. Because he's doing such an amazing job. We need more. I tell him, we need more people in this world like the kids you're raising. I tell him that. You got to give people their flowers.
Absolutely.
While they're here.
You have to. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you're doing an amazing job. He grew up without a dad too. He grew up without a dad. He was adopted. And I'm just like, bruh, you're doing it. You are creating some of the most wonderful human beings I've ever seen in my life as kids. I'm just like amazed. Like that's the feedback that we need to give each other as men. You know, to have those type of conversations. And I go out of my way to have those conversations because I know how important it is, especially when you're in the battle, right? Our son is grown and gone now. But when I look at my younger friends that have kids that are under 12, I'm like, I go back and give them that, because that would have meant the world to me
Mm.
when Max was 12.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, hey, I see you, bro. You're doing an amazing job. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. You're not missing nothing out here. What you're doing is the most important job you could ever do.
Absolutely.
Ain't nothing else out here more important than that.
That's it.
Right. And so we have to give each other that grace. You know, I see women do it all the time. Hey, queen, how you doing? I love your this. I love your shirt. I love your blouse, whatever. Men, we got to step that up too and say, hey, I see you. I see you. I've been there before. I know how hard it is, but I see what you're doing. You know, and so we've got to do that for each other, because it's needed. It's needed, and it's so important. You know, that might just be the charge, and you never know what type of day that person is having. He might be having the worst day of his life, and that's the lifeline that God put in you to give to him.
That's right.
So we just got to love each other. That's really what it boils down to, and being able to just pour into our kids everything that we can. You know, that's what this whole process is about, right? If I'm a car guy, so everything I do is in car terms, but it's just like the 1990 model, as great as it looked, ain't nothing compared to the 2024 model. It's like got way more features. Right. It goes faster. It's safer. It's all these things. That's the way our evolution should be like as well too. I told my son, I said, he felt that he was smarter than me. I'm like, well, you should be smarter than me. Look at all the stuff you grew up with. Like, I didn't have the internet when I was your age. You should be smarter than me. But what you don't have is wisdom. If we put those things together and you listen with all the new stuff that you got, plus my wisdom, you'll be unstoppable.
Man.
Right? So those are the things that we have to look at, and that's our role as parents, right? To say, I don't bring what TikTok is. I've never been on TikTok before. All those things. But what I do bring is my experiences of 51 years on this earth. And let me share it with you so you can have a better life. I love my life. There's nothing that I feel I need to add to my life, but I want my son to have an even better life than I did.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And that should be the goal. Like and not spoiling, and it doesn't require money. What it requires is time. That's the other part too. So don't get so caught up making a living that you're not there for your kids. I get it. It's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. I love to work, especially if I'm getting positive feedback in my business. I'm like, ooh, I just want to do more of this. Maintain a balance, because when your kids are gone and they're graduated and that's it. I told my friend, there's 4 kids, like, once they get 18, those days are gone. Like, you become an advisor. Like, even your role as a parent changes when they're 18. You're now an advisor.
Yes, the trusted advisor.
Yeah. And it's free for them to do whatever they want with that information. You can't make them do anything at that point, right? It's like an oak tree. You're not reshaping that oak tree, right? All you can do is say, hey, the sun's over there. You might want to put more branches over there, because that's where the sun rises at. And that's it. That's all you can do. And be content with that. That's the other part too. Because because if you think about it, you've had a role in your child's life for 18 years, telling them what time to get up, what time to go to school, all these decisions, to now all of a sudden they're 18, and now you're an advisor, especially if they don't live with you. If they live with you, then that might extend out. But the relationship changes, and you just have to be, and it's difficult, right? They're now like, oh, I don't have to do anything my parents say. I'm free. Okay, yeah, that's true. But do you want to learn all those hard lessons? And so now you become an advisor. So understanding that your roles change as children age and grow older and all those things. And just be flexible with it. That's what I would say. Don't be as rigid as, well, no, I've always done it this way. What I say goes. It's like, sometimes my data is 50 years old and that no longer applies. And so now you got to tweak it a little bit, right? You got to make it a little bit differently. That's consumable for the child, right? That's the big piece, because it's not about you just passing on information. You have to present it in a way that they can digest it. Because if they can't digest what you're giving them, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they don't get it. The end result is they need to get it. You don't present it to them, then they're not there. So
Thanks. Well, Arif, it has come to the end of our hour. We're a little bit over, but it's okay.
that was a fast hour.
It was. This
That's
is what we say every time. Our show goes by so quick.
I wish my workouts went this fast.
Right.
35 minutes. Sometimes I think it goes backwards, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, this went pretty fast.
I've been on here for an hour. It's 18
Exactly. Why does it say 20 minutes?
Right. But that's okay. So we want to thank you for joining us today, for sharing all of your fatherly wisdom with us. Is there anything you would like to, a final parting word, and then let the people know how they can connect with you, because I'm sure they want some more advice.
Sure. I'm not really an advice giver. I just share my experience and stuff like that. But one thing that I will say, and I know this is about fathers, but I know there's probably a lot of women that watch this as well too. And there's two different things. One is men, we have to lead. And so we have to lead in a fashion that makes our women want to follow us. Right. And so for women, support your man. Like, you guys are one. Support him. You may not get the vision. You may not understand it. I know a lot of times Sharada's like, I don't know, but I guess that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Have that faith. And again, exactly. You have, as a man, you build that trust. And then you get to cash it in later on those ideas that maybe just God's giving you and you can't really articulate it to your spouse, but you know that that's where we're supposed to be. And you're like, babe, I think this is what and she's like, all right, let's go. What do we need to do? Like, if you want to know the secret to life and the secret to happiness, it's that. When you have a spouse that's just, as the kids say, 10 toes down with you from day one, it makes it so easier, because when you're outside, there's so much pushing back on you. Customers aren't happy. Employees aren't happy. The bank account is going down. But the one thing that I can know for 100% sure, when I go to my wife, let's go do it. Let's go. So again, it's both sides, but that's what I would say, just work together. Work together. It's not mine. It's not hers. It's ours. And let's build it together. Just one quick story. So when I was probably about almost 30, I told my grandfather, I said, I'm thinking about changing my last name. And he said, to what? I said, to your last name. And he said, oh, well, yeah, you can do that if you want to. And then I thought about it for a little bit. And then I said, you know what? I have an opportunity. Again, I met my dad one time. I don't even know what that side of the family is like. And then God gave it to me. He said, the last name Sealey can mean whatever you want it to mean.
That's right.
And Sharon has always said, I do it for my last name. And so now we're creating that history. So those are the type of things that we focus on. And so you're not distracted by all the other stuff, right? What P. Diddy's doing, what this person is doing. Who cares? Like, you can't write a check with that and pay the mortgage. Stay focused. Stay focused and build together. So that's my parting advice. I don't have a whole lot of handles. Our business is Sealey Business Brokers. It's on SealeyBB.com. If you're looking for a pool route to buy, Arif Sealey on Facebook, if you want to connect. And yeah, so this has been great. Thank you, ladies, for having me on the show today. It's been great. Hopefully, I pray that it helps people on their journey, right? On their journey, and hopefully it feeds their soul, and that they're able to get something from this. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're always welcome to come back and chat with us again. Once you're here and we like you, you're part of the Wake Up Happy
I
Sis
really
family.
like
She really, really likes you.
I got somebody on the inside. Watch out.
You got insight. You got the plug. You got the plug. So that's always a good thing.
Definitely.
So, Sharonda, tell the people how they can find you, man. Or if you have any parting words as well.
I concur with my husband about the family unit, about the pushing together or pulling together in the same direction. When the head of your union gets a message from God and he comes to you, you say, "Yes, dear, and let's go." And there, it doesn't require a lot of back and forth. It requires the trust that I have in him, because he has the heart of God. He is just, I have been in this man, in it with this man for almost 3 decades, and God is always the center. And I trust God, and I ask God for my husband, and you're looking at him. So they are doing things with my best interest. I don't have to know all of it. I mean, he can explain. He's so patient. He explains it to me more than once, and I for whatever reason, just okay, and we just go, and we just do it and make it do and stuff, and we just close ourselves, encapsulate it into a bubble where nobody and nothing penetrates, and we just hunker down and we just get through the doggone things. And so now we're, empty nesters and rediscovering each other. And I really like him, like him and stuff. And it's because like for some people, I really like him. Like
Thanks.
And so
that's a good thing, because sometimes people do that empty nester thing and realize they don't like that person.
No, let's go before the empty nestership. Let's go to the pandemic. We
that broke up. I think that broke up a lot of.
We got closer then.
Happy connections. It was either one of those. Either y'all was gonna go like this, or y'all was gonna go like that.
Yeah.
It was really a test of, do you really like this person as much as you think?
Yeah, it really was. And so it was an amazing opportunity for people to figure out exactly what they wanted to do in life.
But we gotta go.
Always.
We gotta go. We're 17 minutes over.
Oh my goodness, this is
what happens. This is what happens. We get on a tangent, and then it'd be an hour and 30 minutes. We gotta go. All right. Awesome. You can contact Sharonda at
bookkeepingforlife.com if you want your books done. If not, that's fine too. I'm still gonna be okay. I'm still waiting on you, but bookkeepingforlife.com can help you out. So
yes. And as we close out this episode, I really want to just leave y'all with my little final thought, right? That fatherhood is really not just about these biological connections. It's about the love, the guidance, and support that shapes us into who we are. So to all the fathers out there, or the father figures, just know that your presence and your efforts matter more than you could ever imagine. And to everyone who's been blessed with an awesome father figure in their lives, you really need to cherish those lessons and pass them on to the next generation. Let's celebrate fathers today, yesterday, because Father's Day was yesterday, and every day, honoring their resilience, their leadership, and their love. So from the bottom of my heart, thank y'all for joining us today. Happy Father's Day. And remember, keep waking up happy. See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Here's our outro. Look, see, then I don't be ready. See, that's the problem. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of